Okay,
Perfect.
and just we'll go back. You were so far you got 100%. So you do get
A
tested
bond
on
offered at par.
relationships
Yep.
of yields and bond prices. You should definitely know there's an inverse relationship to bonds and interest rates, right? And then here you got this one right. 5%. The coupon I would know doesn't change. And that 5% is also referred to as the nominal yield. It's also referred to the fixed or stated rate of return. And it does not fluctuate. The issuer says, whoever has the bond, we're paying $50 in annual interest. And then in the secondary market, you'll be able to get that bond for either a discount if interest rates have gone up, par if interest rates have remained unchanged, or in the secondary market, a premium if interest rates go down. What is the purpose of 5130 regarding restricted persons and IPOs?
Um, ooh. I'm gonna go with, it's hard. Maybe C, to protect
Yeah, anytime you
integrity.
get an answer that sounds highfalutin,
Oh, it
protect
is. Okay.
public marketplace integrity. Yeah, absolutely. Remember what this amounts
Yeah.
to is that we need to make a bona fide good faith distribution to the customer. So the customer says, well, gee, Steve, that must be nice working at Morgan Stanley, getting first dibs on all those hot IPOs at Morgan Stanley. I go, no, it's the opposite. As a Morgan Stanley employee or meet a family member of Morgan Stanley employee or attorney or accountant to Morgan Stanley, I'm a restricted person, meaning I can't receive IPO allocations. This is to make sure that we make a bona fide distribution. So very much a test question. I don't think they'll camouflage it with 5130. Kaplan test prep vendors do more of the rule numbers, but even with that rule number, you can actually get the context when it says restricted persons and IPOs.
I kind of just did like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, like what
Yeah,
sounded
yeah.
the
Well, I
best.
think you'll be good at those kind
Sorry.
of
I mean,
questions. I think you'll be good
yeah.
at those kind of questions. A brokerage firm
A
has
brokerage.
accumulated a large holding in a little known company by purchasing several 100,000 shares of the company's stock. The firm instructs its registered reps to begin touting the stock to every one of its customers and make cold calls to new potential customers as well. This is likely a scheme. This is a classic. If you saw Wolf of Wall Street, that's based on a real firm called Stratton Oakmont and a real guy named Jordan Belfort.
Jordan.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it marking the open? It's
no,
not pump
marking
and
the
dump.
opening would be when I actually do a trade just to influence the opening price. It's called a pump and dump.
Oh, it's pump and dump. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I was between C and D. I should have said
yeah,
that.
it's pump. Yeah, we're pumping it. And then once we get it pumped, then we're going to dump that large several 100,000 shares that we own. That's a classic. That's testable. Pegging is keeping the market price of the stock from falling below a certain price.
Okay.
The investment banker got in trouble for this. He said, Allison, as an investment banking firm, if your stock is 70 or higher, you owe us another $20 million in compensation. And the guy said, certainly. And then I call the trading desk as it gets closer to that target date. And I say, hey, listen, do whatever you got to do to keep this stock at 70. Buy as much as you can, peg it at 70 because it means another $20 million in compensation to me. That's called pegging. Now, there is a legal form of pegging called stabilization, which we can do in IPOs. Capping is keeping the stock from going up. Right? I call my
Okay.
trading desk and say, hey, listen, I need those calls to expire. So do whatever you got to do to keep that stock at 70 or less. So pegging and
Okay.
capping are fraudulent devices. So is marking the opening. That's doing a trade at the open just to cause an uptick. And it's also fraudulent. And marking the close would be the same. Fraudulent. Who benefits most for a defined contribution plan? Who benefits most from a defined contribution plan? And two types of retirement plans from your employer: defined benefit and defined contribution.
Defined benefit.
Defined benefit is where we say Allison, when you retire, you're going to get a percentage of your base pay and healthcare for the rest of your life. We, your employer, are assuming the investment risk. A defined contribution plan is like a 401k where we say, Allison,
Yeah.
you can put X dollars pre-tax. We'll match you dollar for dollar in the first 2 or 3. That's a defined contribution. You invest it, whatever it grows to or falls to, that's what you get. You, the employee, are assuming the investment risk.
Well, would it be younger employees because
Yeah,
you have more
indeed.
time to
Right.
put more money into it?
Right on. Exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Okay, great.
Which of the following is
Which one?
true regarding non-registered personnel of FINRA member firms? So this is somebody at the broker-dealer who has not taken and passed these tests, hasn't filled out a U4.
I don't think all members have to be registered. That's
No, we
not
got lots of
true.
people running around at the broker-dealer that aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, like admins or whomever.
Mhm.
Uh, B is not true, so that's not it.
Right.
It's D.
There you go. A company offers to repurchase outstanding debt securities it has issued directly from its bondholders for cash. So they're making you an offer. I think I kind of gave it away. For cash, what commonly is known as.
The company offers to purchase outstanding debt. Is it a tender offer?
Right on. And then do you know how long that has to be open?
Is it 60 days?
20 days.
20
So
days. Okay.
if the
Tender
company makes
offer
you
is 20
tender,
days.
they have to leave it open for 20 days. Now, if they were buying back their stock and not their bonds, that would be a buyback and it would be into the treasury.
I'm gonna put that in here. You said 20 days to buy back?
Yeah, to keep the tender open. Well, any tender has to be open for at least 20 days. Any tender. And if I make a change to the tender offer, then I have to, leave it open for at least another 10
Company
days.
offers to repurchase. Okay. A hostile takeover. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, well, the same thing would be that even in a hostile takeover, it would be a tender, right? The hostile company that wants to acquire would offer us, the shareholders, a tender offer, right? So, in the private equity space, most private equity firms I know try and do this on a friendly basis, but every once in a while, say,
Yeah.
we're just going to go directly
It's
to
not
your
so friendly.
Yeah, we're just going to go directly to your shareholders. Opening a margin account for a client requires the client do all the following except.
Oh, this one's good. I think you have to do D.
You certainly should be. Or that's
Yeah.
where I say, Allison, you're pledging your securities as collateral for the loan. And so the securities are going to be in street name, the name of our broker dealer, so that if you don't fulfill your responsibilities, we can sell you out. That's the hypothecation agreement. It is mandatory. You are correct. And by the way, that means, Allison, if your securities are in street name, which I just told you they are in a margin account, that means your proxy material is coming to the broker dealer. And if we receive that on your behalf, we'll forward it at no charge to you.
Okay. So maybe you don't receive I'm assuming you have to receive a risk disclosure
You
between
certainly do.
A and C.
You certainly have to receive a risk disclosure
I
document.
just don't know about, I just don't know about,
Yeah.
I just don't know about C, like a credit
The credit
agreement.
agreement is mandatory. And I say, Allison, this is where we disclose to you that you're paying interest on the borrowed funds. The interest you're paying is based on broker call. Broker call is what banks charge brokerage firms for money, and whatever they charge us, the brokerage firm, we're going to charge you a little more, broker call plus.
So then you're not signing a loan consent.
Yeah, I say, Allison, we have other customers who wish to sell short securities. Would it be okay if we lend them your securities to establish a short position? And you say, well, Dean, I don't think it's in my best interest to help people go short securities that I'm long. I say, Allison, it isn't. And that's why this part of the documentation is indeed optional. You don't have to lend your securities to my other customers if you don't want to.
Okay.
Federal, state, and local income tax would be due on the interest from which of the following issues? Which of the following issues?
Ugh. Is it? Oh my God. The 5-year tip? I don't know.
Let's just go through them. So if you buy a Dallas, Texas GO bond, it is not taxed on the federal level. Texas
Yeah.
could tax you, but chooses not to. So it's not taxed on the state level. And Dallas, the city of Dallas, doesn't have an
Yeah.
income tax. So A is
But
not fully
A
taxed.
and C. A and C are out.
There you go. 5-year tip. The state would
I don't.
like to tax you on federal securities, treasury securities, but can't. So in a treasury inflation protected security, you are going to pay federal income tax. The U.S. Treasury can and will tax you. States cannot. D, Freddie,
Oh,
Fannie Mae, and Ginnie Mae are fully taxable. Now, the one on the test here wouldn't be Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae, it'd be Ginnie Mae. And I would definitely know that Ginnie Mae's are fully taxable. I kind of like this in the rationale, even though they didn't give you, they gave you Freddie Mac. The rationale then tells you it's Ginnie Mae. It would be the same answer if we had D, Ginnie Mae, but I think you're more likely to see D as Ginnie Mae than you're going to see D as Freddie Mac.
I got it on the test. I remember.
Yeah, there you go. So
So Jenny May
yeah, we
are
have
taxed
three
at all levels.
government-sponsored agencies. Ginnie Mae, unlike the others, there's three: Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Fannie Mae. All are designed to promote home ownership. All of them issue pass-through mortgage securities. Ginnie Mae, unlike the others, very testable, has the full faith and credit of the U.S. Treasury. The others have an implied backing. Ginnie Mae, unlike the others, pays interest and principal monthly. Ginnie Mae, like all the others, are fully taxable.
Yeah.
Records of original entry must be recorded no later than the next business day and be readily available for
I'm gonna go with 6 years.
yeah, this one kind of tricky. If I said how long is record
2 years. Wow,
readily,
I think it's 7 years, isn't it?
no, hold on, slow down. If I would have asked record retention, you would have been correct. It didn't say record retention. It said readily accessible, and that is 24 hours. That's 2 years. If I'm a regulator, I come in, Allison, and say, I would like to see this record. And you created that record within 18 months. I say, Allison, I'll be back tomorrow at 10:22, and I expect you to have that record. So this is about readily accessible. That answer is 2. If it said, how long do you have to keep this record? It's 6, but it has to be readily
Okay.
available for what? 2, right? All records have to be readily accessible 2 years, right? So regulators love it, by the way. Readily accessible, Allison, means 24 hours because they love to say, I'll be back tomorrow. So can you use an offsite location? Absolutely, just as long as it's readily accessible, right? 24 hours. 4 years, you should definitely know. 4 years, the only record that's 4 year is customer complaints, FINRA. You should know that. 6 years is items of original entry. That would be the general ledger, the purchase and sales, the blotter, customer records, that kind of thing. The vast majority of brokerage firm records are 3 years. Now, remember, there's a distinction between record retention and readily accessible, right? And then
So
lifetime.
if it said record retention, you would pick
Yeah, you would have
3
been
years.
correct. If this would have said records of original entry must be recorded no later than the business day and retained for, then you would have been correct.
Okay.
And then lifetime records, right? Lifetime records, AG, Edward Jones now is what, going into its 123rd year. So they have lifetime records of 122 years would be the founding documents, the partnership agreement, or if you're a corporation, you know, the stock certificate, you know, we're doing, you know, BlackRock is kind of funny because your founders, right? They couldn't give them money when they started out. And it's kind of fun reading their memoirs now, but you know, when they just left, they set up the place. That's a lifetime record. All right. What position has the greatest potential risk if their laundering stock goes up? So I come in and I say, Allison, I want to lose so much money that you can't tell me how much.
Mm. This is a hard one for me.
Yeah, I think this is the most important answer set. The most important answer set on the test.
I'm
And
gonna
we have
go
two
with
types. We
yeah.
have two types of options, calls and puts. You can either buy
Mhm.
them or sell them. So a short put is obligation to buy the stock at the strike price. And so, you know, what I think is most important as a SIE test taker is knowing these contract specifications. And the reason you're obliged is because you received the premium, right? I joke, I am short a tutoring session. I did an opening sale of this tutoring session. So when mom's friend said, hey, Dean, can you give us a ride? I said, well, after I fulfill my obligation to deliver the tutoring session, right? If I didn't want to be obliged, I shouldn't have done that, right? Now, I joke, you are long the tutoring session. You paid the premium. Whether or not you want to be here to this morning is, you know, up to you. And that is a choice. Choices cost money, a choice to buy the stock at the strike price. You know, these are contract specifications. I think a lot of people get hung up because they think there's a zillion things going on and there's not. There's two types of contracts, calls and puts. You can either buy them or sell them. And so we have four basic positions. Right, boom.
Okay.
So we should have a general understanding, by the way, that when you are short, you have the risk, not, you know, it's hard for you to have unlimited loss potential if, you know, you paid a premium, because the worst case is you just lose your money, right? So you paid
So short, when you're shorting, you have risk.
That's right.
Yeah,
I always think somebody who's
I
short
was
is a
down
potential.
between A and D.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
So choice to sell. So whether you want to have a choice to call the stock away or choice to sell, put the stock, a choice to sell, choices cost money. Choice to sell the stock. And then here, whoop, I messed up on my, yeah, no, I got it. Receive premium. And you are obliged. And what you're obliged to do is sell stock. So you said you had to do a 50-50. So you got to decide what is a bigger risk, having an obligation to buy the stock or having an obligation to sell the stock.
To sell.
Right on, right?
I think it's D,
You
obligation
are
to
correct.
sell,
You are
because you're
correct,
forced.
right? And it makes sense, by the way, that if you want to buy the stock, that you're bullish if you want to buy the stock. And if you want to sell the stock, you're bearish. And so here you're right. If you agree to sell stock you don't own, you have unlimited loss potential. That's very testable.
I'm taking
Exposed.
notes on this.
Yeah, it's very testable to know what exposes customers to unlimited risk. And what exposes customers to unlimited risk is agreeing to sell stock they don't own. You know, because we have two versions of this. We have a version that we call it a naked call or an uncovered call because you don't actually own the stock. You know, and then every once in a while, so what if I had the stock? As we had the stock, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. Right, so don't be bringing extra
So,
stuff. The other thing that exposes you to unlimited
yeah.
risk is short the stock. Right, so if you short
Okay.
the stock, You're short an call contract, you're exposed to unlimited risk.
So a long call and a long put are choices to buy or sell.
That's right. When you're wrong, you just lose your money, right? You
But
pay
a
a
short
premium.
put and a short call, yeah, you're forced to do it.
Yeah, and the short put it could be painful because you're gonna have to buy the stock, but the worst case is you're gonna buy stock that's worthless. That's a definable number. I say, listen, if you short an Apple 215 put, the worst case is you're gonna have to pay 215 for the Apple, and the Apple could potentially be zero. That's a lot of money, but
Mm-hmm.
final. If you sell an Apple call and agree to sell Apple you don't own, there's a finite supply of Apple stock, potential infinite demand. You screw that up, you're toast, So yeah, very much a test question. As I said, I think the most important thing is this answer set. Knowing that there are two types of contracts, calls and puts. You can either buy them or sell them. That buy and sell means long or short. And then poof, right? That's then picking from those. A customer buys a October 75 MMS put, 75 put. So again, from our previous discussion, that is a choice to sell the stock at 75. That's what I would like you to be able to do is contract specifications, kind of like learning a foreign language. But I'm hoping that at some point, and again, not a big deal on your SIE, but it will be a bigger deal as you go on your seven, that, I can look at this and say, this is a choice to sell the stock at the strike price, which in this case is 75. So that's what that is in, plain English, basically. And boom, I like to put that under my contract there. Okay, so I have a choice to sell at the strike price 75. I like to put the strike price or market price either above or below. So here's my strike price, and I just like to put that there to kind of make my analysis a little easier. What
Okay.
Dean does is not testable, but I like to just kind of put that. Which of the following is true? Which of the following is true? The put is out of the money. So what is that relationship? In the money, at the money, and out of the money refer to the relationship of the strike price to the market price. And so, here, if I have a choice to sell at 75 and the stock is at 70, my choice to sell is worth 5 points. A choice to sell at 75 with the stock at 70 is worth 5 points. It's not out of the money. Right now, this put contract is in the money. It has intrinsic value. I think a good memory aid device for this is put down. Put down. If the market price is down from the strike price, if the market price is down from the strike price, the contract is in the money, it has intrinsic value. It has intrinsic value. If the market price,
Let's say the put has intrinsic.
is down from the strike price.
So here we have 70 and 75. So the market price is down
Puts
from
it
the
at
strike.
the money. No, at the money would be the same. The put has intrinsic value. Yeah, in the money and intrinsic value are the same terms. So boom, the market price is down from the strike price. It looks like I got my little greater than, less than sign.
So the put is at the money would not be correct. The put is out of the money. That's not correct either.
At the money would be when
Nope,
the strike price.
it's intrinsic value.
That's right. At the money would be, hold on, let me finish. At the money would be when the strike price and market price are the same. That is not at the money.
Got it.
We got a couple option questions here. Okay? We got a couple option questions. As I mentioned, most of them are recognition. For collateral trust bonds, all the following are true except.
Collateral trust. Oh my God, I don't remember this. I'm gonna go with C. I don't know. This one.
Yeah.
I don't know this one. C or A.
in terms of capitalizing a corporation,
Oh, what was that?
we capitalize corporations with equity and debt. We sell stock and we sell bonds. And in the bond category, we can issue secured bonds or unsecured bonds. In the secured bond category, we have collateral trust bonds, which are secured by marketable securities placed in escrow, B as in boy. They are secured. The other secured bonds we have are mortgage bonds, which are secured by real property. The other secured bond we have are equipment trust certificates, which are secured by major movable equipment. The unsecured bonds we have are called debentures. And we have debentures, we have subordinated debentures, and we have income bonds. So this is testing you on the types of securities a corporation may issue. A corporation may issue stock, and a corporation may issue bonds. In the bond category, they may choose to issue either secured bonds or unsecured bonds, right? And so here, this would be like, at one time, IBM owned a huge position in Intel, and they placed the Intel stock into an escrow account and borrowed against it and said, if we don't pay the interest and principal, we'll distribute this Intel stock to you. All the following are taxable to an investor except.
Stock dividends are taxable. I just got taxed on it. Capital gains distribution. Capital gains are always taxed, right?
That's right.
Semi-annual interest payments. I don't really know what that means. I'm going to go with D, cash dividends. I don't know.
Cash dividends are taxable. It's the stock dividends are not, because you didn't receive any money. I just call you and say, hey, Allison, Chipotle just paid a 10% stock dividend. You go, Dean, what's the consequences of that? I say nothing. I said, you have 10% more, so does everybody else. You just have to adjust your cost basis. You have more shares at a lower price. Allison, the $50 in annual interest you received on that 5% bond we discussed earlier is taxable. The capital gains distribution from your mutual fund is taxable. The cash dividends you're receiving from your stocks is taxable.
Would be yeah.
Each of the following makes regular interest payments except.
Is it a strip?
Yeah, that's a zero coupon bond, right on. That's separate trading of registered interest principal securities. So zero coupon bonds do not make regular interest payments. A treasury strip is a zero coupon bond issued by the U.S. Treasury. So nailed it. Corporate bonds pay interest semi-annually. Treasury notes pay interest semi-annually. Treasury bonds pay interest semi-annually. Excellent. Which of the following is a benefit of a 529 plan, but not a Coverdell educational savings account?
Oh. Coverdell again is
it's an IRA for it's an IRA for college, basically. I think by the way, I don't know of any financial institutions that are still offer Coverdells, because if you do the Bake Off or beauty contest, the 529 is just so much more competitive than a Coverdell. I would yank you into my office as your supervisor and say, you're signing up somebody for a Coverdell? Why? I mean, why would you do that, Allison, knowing that there are 529s available, which are just way more competitive?
I don't think there's income restrictions for
there's
both.
not on the 529. President Obama was able to put, what, 300 grand out of his estate, right? So anyone can have a 529. Coverdale's are
So
mean.
Coverdale, yeah. How
You
much can
can't
you
do
put in
fund a
there?
Coverdale if you have certain income over a certain amount. So that's an advantage.
Oh, got it. Okay. Got it.
Which of the following securities may trade above or below their net asset value? I like this question.
Oh, ETFs trade above and below, right? Or mutual funds. I just learned this.
Well, remember, yeah, we have two different types of mutual funds. We have open-end mutual funds and closed-end. Very testable of the distinction. Open-end funds are continually offering new shares to the public. And they're
Yep.
always offered at NAV plus sales charge. There would be
Yep.
no circumstance in which an open-end company would trading below its NAV. The only thing that can trade in the secondary market below the NAV, because it trades in the secondary market, open-end funds do not trade in the secondary market. That's also a hint, may trade. B doesn't trade, C doesn't trade, D doesn't trade, but closed-end funds
A.
trade
It's
supply and
common.
demand in the marketplace. And so
This
in the
is an
market,
interesting one.
yeah, just recently, Bill Ackman of Pershing Square
Love
revoked
him.
his registration statement for his closed-end fund. Allison, for a guy like that who's so sophisticated, to not know these rules we're discussing is kind of, to me, shocking. You know, we have this thing called the cooling off period at quiet time. So Bill Ackman had made a registration statement to offer his closed-end fund to the public. And then he sent a letter to institutional investors saying, hey, can you help me out? And he didn't think that would become public. And then it did. And the SEC said, why are you hyping your deal? You know, and back and forth. And then he said, maybe not 25 billion, maybe only 2 billion. And then people started saying, well, these closed-end funds, can't they trade below NAV? And wouldn't I be better served, Bill, to just wait and buy it in the secondary market below the NAV than to be buying at the IPO price? And I thought, you know, he said, okay, never mind. I'm not going to do that closing the company. All of us were kind of, I shouldn't say all of us, collectively, those of us in the securities, as you know about closed end fund, go, man, that's a weird structure that he's trying to
He
create.
needs a better GC.
Well, he needs
It's
somebody like us.
embarrassing.
And, you know, he needs better person.
So just quickly on this one. So open-end funds like these munis are
T. Rowe
not traded obviously
Price,
on.
Franklin, American funds, these are open-end funds, right? They're selling their shares, new shares to the public. Vanguard.
So they're not on the secondary market.
No, that's not. If you want a Vanguard fund, you call Vanguard.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, be
Got
careful though. Remember, I'm not talking about an ETF. ETFs do trade, so we're talking about an open-end mutual fund.
It's like an open-end. It's like open, closed.
Yeah, like open door.
ETF
Always,
UIT.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
open and serving, right? Mom told me for driving to Mesquite that because she knows how much I love sitting in jacuzzis. And last time I drove her down there, the jacuzzi was, not operational. So she was called and said, Dean, I called them and they said, Dean, the jacuzzi is open 24 hours. I go, Mom, I don't believe that. I'll believe that when I get there and it's 2 a.m. in the morning and I go down there and I'll see if that thing
And you
is.
could go down.
Yeah, I don't think it's open all the time. I don't think it's gonna be open when I get there, but we'll find out. So that's what open means. Call us up, we'll issue some shares to you. By the way, that means that open-end fund managers have to be prepared to meet redemption requests because it's not only open.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's also open in terms of.
Well, we dealt with that. We dealt with that obviously on B.
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
sure
You had
you
to
read all
agree to.
the. I'm
Now
sure you
yours
read
was
all the
very
news.
different.
We had to
Yours was an
lock it
interval
down.
redemption where you offered to redeem at certain prices and at certain limits, and from what I
It was a hot mess.
Yeah, I understand that's kind of just dissipated now. But remember, that was put into your offering documents to prevent what I'm just talking about, which is us having to sell our
100%.
properties in a fire sale, right? We say, hey, let's not get stupid here. Let's, let's take a little time. By the way, you also got some
100%.
credit, I thought, rightfully so, for taking good marks on the properties. In other words, there's I won't name names, but there are some providers who are notorious for taking a higher mark on that asset value than it really is.
Yeah, we didn't do that. No,
Yeah,
we were
so
lower.
when you guys started selling some properties, people go, oh, okay, I guess we can rely a little bit on that mark because that was the mark and they got that or better for it. So, okay, an investor is short a January 30 call at 5. Maximum loss for the investor is, this is very much a test question.
Investors short a January 30th call at 5. It's not unlimited.
It is unlimited. When you
Oh, it
oblige
is?
yourself to sell stock you don't own. So you said for $500, you would deliver that stock at 35 points. And that means you don't own that stock. So if you get exercise, you're going to have to go in the open market and buy that stock. So I call you, I'm broker. I say, hey, you know that 30 call you shorted for 5? You say, yeah, I said it got exercised. And you say, well, I choose not to be exercised. I said, well, Allison, you're confused. You don't have a choice. You have an obligation. And you said, well, Dean, what if I had the stock in my account? I said, Allison, you have that stock in your account. We wouldn't be having this discussion. You have to deliver that stock at 30. You say, Dean, do you know where I can get the stock? I say, I do. Every day between 9:30 and 4 o'clock, there's a market for that stock. And you say, well, Dean, maybe it's less than 30. I say, Allison, you're confused. If it was less than 30, you wouldn't be being called away right now. The stock is somewhere north of 30. You say, well, how far north of 30 could it be? I go, well, there's a finite supply, potential, infinite demand. So when you agree to sell stock you don't own, you have unlimited loss potential. That's very much a test question, right? This is just foolish. Why would you do this for $500? Why not do a covered call? Why not do a credit call spread? The point is there's a way to take that money without taking all the risk,
Got it.
My mantra in social media is I always say, don't be a dumb bear. If you're going to be a bear, be a smart bear. And this is a dumb bear because if you're absolutely correct, you make $500. I mean, listen, I don't know about your lifestyle, Allison, but I don't even think $500 worth it. I mean, if you're gonna be stupid, at least get some decent money.
It's not.
Get some money.
It's not worth it.
All the following are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, except
Um, D it is.
that's correct. D is
What is a treasury receipt?
that is a zero coupon bond created by broker
Okay.
dealers who strip treasuries into their component parts.
Okay. Zero coupon bond. Are bills backed?
Well, Bill, you're getting directly from the U.S. Treasury. Treasury bonds,
Yeah.
you're getting directly from the U.S. Treasury. Treasury strips, you're getting directly from the U.S. Treasury. Treasury receipts, I told you, are created by broker dealers.
Oh, so then it must be B.
Yeah, that's right, Because they're buying the bonds and stripping them.
I
Right.
never heard of it before, so I was like,
Yeah,
that
I don't
seems
think it's a big
odd to
deal.
me.
I don't think it's a big deal, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know,
Treasury bills, bonds,
I
and
think if you
notes.
got
And
this,
then, yeah.
the B choice would have been something like Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae.
And,
Right?
okay.
Yeah,
And
Jenny Mae's
Jenny
do.
Mae is fully backed.
Jenny Mae's do and the others don't. That would be how I think they would test you on that. All the following are exempt from the do not call provisions of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, except. So one of these
Except,
people is going to have to comply with the Telephone Consumer Protection Act.
calls not made for commercial purposes. All the following, these are so hard. All the following are exempt
Yeah,
from except.
right on. The grammar is atrocious. So I always like to put it in plain English. So they're saying one of these needs to comply with the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. 3 of these are allowed to call people whenever they want. Shouldn't say whenever they want, but one of these people are not allowed to make this call unless they have permission of the customer.
Yeah. I don't know, is it? Hmm, I don't know, is it C? I don't know.
Yeah, I take a lot of heat from other people in my space for teaching people test taking tricks. And I say only use test taking tricks when all else fails. But B is too long to be wrong. So we just talked about mutual fund providers like Vanguard, for example, or American funds, for example. Maybe I have a new ETF that I want to offer to my customers. And so the answer here is B. I would need permission,
Oh, it is.
yeah, to call you. That is not exempt. If I'm going to call you to make you aware of our latest, greatest, whatever, I need to have your permission to do so, or you have to be an existing customer. So the answer there is B, right? Now, by the
Oh,
way, this is
interesting.
not just for
Okay.
brokerage firms. This is not just for brokerage firms. The Telephone Consumer Protection Act applies to, everybody, but, like my cigar company, right? I buy cigars from them and they want to call me about, some special deal. They need my permission to do so, right? If I check the box and said, hey, if you have any good deals, give me a call. That's a different deal, right? So what
I
would
think
you
the
actually be
wording
tested
messed
on?
me up.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I don't think this is going to be the test question. What you need to know about the Telephone Consumer Protection Act is we're not supposed to call before 8 in the morning or 9 in the evening, the hours, and it's wherever the phone is ringing is where, stupid but testable. And the other thing we have to do is maintain a do not call list. Of people who've asked not to be bothered. And then, if they ask to be put on the do not call list, I'm supposed to say, oh, my bad. I almost made it out of our entire my career without a written complaint. And I had a do not call list, and every once in a while somebody would say, hey, Dean, put me on the do not call list. And what I used to do is strip the fields of the from it, so I wouldn't call you again, because when I take you out of there, if I didn't strip the fields and leave you in there, I might reintroduce you. But anyways, I accidentally sent this guy a thing, and he called me and said, put me on the do not call list. I said, Allison, I'll do that. Unfortunately, there's one more piece of communication on its way to you. But after that, you'll never hear from me again. I queued up my morning calls. And I thought, oh my God. I thought, well, why is he there? My sales assistant had actually told him, sent it to him accidentally. And anyways, by the way, time I'm thinking about it, he goes, WTF, being, why are you doing this? And I explained what happened. And anyways, I thought, was that a complaint? It certainly is, right? I could just see FINRA coming in there. So that was my only ever written complaint I received in my career from making cold calls inappropriately.
Oh, that sucks.
I still traumatized. I always think I'm accidentally going to call that guy. Right. P.S. I was just reading here, 3-4 years back, Merrill Lynch is no longer teaching brokers how to make cold calls just because they don't think it's an effective way to market anymore. A mutual fund has been in existence for 25 years. The prospectus must disclose the fund's performance. So this is about what we call hypothetical illustrations.
Hmm. The mutual fund has been in existence. Ooh. For each year over the last 10 years, the last 1, 5, and 10 years, that wouldn't make sense. Broken out as an average over the last 10 years. I'm going to go with C.
It's actually B. B.
That's interesting. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I don't
I knew that
actually
was a.
think. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see that, but it's definitely something with. And then the biggest thing we got to be able to say is, Allison, past performance is not indicative of future results. Just
Indicative of
because we
future
did
results,
that
exactly.
over the last 1, 5, or 10 years, who knows? You know what's going to happen in the future. My crystal ball is broke. I don't know anything about the future. Income fund has reported average net assets of 120 million and expenses of 600,000. What is the fund's expense ratio? I haven't had anybody on debrief of the 2 or 3 math questions you may get. I haven't had anybody ever tell me this is one of them, but there is a problem with having monkeys harvest bananas, and it's they eat the products. And so what we're asking here is how much of this product is being eaten up by the the expenses.
BOB income fund has reported.
By the way, just a hint. Ratio always means division. So anytime you hear the word ratio, they're asking you to divide.
Ratio. Okay, that's good to know. I think it's 5%.
Well, not 5%. 5% would be 6 million, right? 10% of 120.
No, like 0.5. Is
There
that,
you
or
go.
is that
That's
not 5?
exactly right. You got it right. There you go. It's the 600
What
by,
is that? Okay.
yeah.
How would you get that?
How would I get that?
Okay,
I
let me
take the
look at this.
600,000 and I divide by the 120 million. I say of the 120 million, 600,000 is getting eaten up in expenses. So 600 divided by 120. So 1/2 of 1% is actually the expense ratio. I would just know it's a competitive factor. So, if I ask like a charity, what's their expense ratio? I'm asking how much of the money is getting eaten up in expenses and how much is actually going to do whatever it is they tell me they're going to do. I saw a televangelist on television. I couldn't believe this. He said he's going to show me what happens to $1 if I send it to him. The expense ratio. I thought, okay, well, you got me. I want to see what this is. And anyways, by the time he was driving up this dollar, it was actually, a nickel that actually made it to Africa. I thought that's outrageous that this expense ratio is 95%, paying for the television and all that stuff. And, I was sent him a little note thinking, geez, Anyways, he answered me and said, well, that's a nickel that would have got there without him. And I said, well, gee, now I got a problem with your theology, really. I mean, God needs you to move a nickel from the US to Africa. I mean, you're kind of full of yourself. My point is, if there was another charity and they had an expense ratio of 5 cents, that means 95 cents ends up in Africa, helping people. Before affecting an initial penny stock transaction. By the way, in your business, right? I always think it's transparent when somebody shows the expenses, after the return. So, not your firm, but there's another private equity firm I'm familiar with, and it used to drive me nuts that they were always quoting returns without showing the expenses. Which
Oh
was
no, we always show expenses.
yeah,
We
well, no, I
have
was going
to.
to say it's a material to me. I'm not a regulator, but to me, it's a material difference between those two numbers, right? Before effecting an initial penny stock transaction for a new customer, the registered rep must do all the following except you are going to get tested on penny stocks.
Mm. A margin account seems off.
Yeah, Sesame Street margin account's a whole separate deal.
Yeah, that seems weird. What will we be tested on penny
Let
stocks,
me just
though?
tell you. So first, the test question is the definition of a penny stock. You know the definition of a penny stock. It's a non-NASDAQ OTC stock under 5. So that's our first test question.
Under $5?
Under $5, non-NASDAQ OTC. So what I'm saying there is if it's a New York Stock Exchange stock under 5, it's not a penny stock. If it's a NASDAQ stock under 5, it's not a penny stock. A non-NASDAQ over-the-counter OTC stock under 5. That's our first test question. The second test question is what you encountered here. That if it's a new customer, we have to give them a risk disclosure document and get a signed suitability statement. Third test question. This rule does not apply to an established customer, which leads us to a test question. What is an established customer? An established customer, meaning I don't have to give you this disclosure document and the suitability statement that you're signing, is somebody, Allison, who's done 3 trades with us. So if you bought 3 penny stocks from me, you're a consenting adult. I no longer have to make this disclosure to you. Or you've had funds with me for a year. So if you've had funds with me for a year, the broker dealer, or if you've done 3 penny stock trades, you're an established customer, meaning I don't have to give you that. Last test question. You get tested on the standard for delivering customer statements. And customer statements, test question, must be delivered to a customer quarterly, unless there's a penny stock in their account. If there's a penny stock in your account, then Allison, test question, you're going to get a statement monthly. Monthly. Right? So you won't get all those, but you'll get some version of that. Here you were being tested about the second thing about this disclosure document suitability statement for new customers buying penny stocks. That's what this question was about. And in this question, it also mentioned that it doesn't apply to established customers, right? You're an established customer, 3 trades, 1 year. I don't have to do this. What's a penny stock? Monthly statements, all testable. A customer broker dealer purchases 100 shares of XYZ stock at 50 on Monday. Later that week, a confirmation arrives electronically saying the total cost was $5,000. The client is puzzled that there's no additional commission. The most likely reason for that is, I kind of like this one. This one's kind of interesting.
Is that the broker dealer acted as the agent?
Well, no, agent means there would have been a commission. So you're on the backside.
Oh,
If an agent, there's a commission.
so they're the principal.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
I mean, I charge you a markup. I say, Allison, there's no commission because you bought it out of my inventory and I charged you a markup. So all you owe me is $5,000. That's called capacity. That's called capacity. And that would be disclosed on the confirm. So I say, if you look at your confirmation a little closer, you'll see that we disclosed that we acted as a dealer principal in this transaction, right? So we're all called broker dealers, but any one trade, we're either going to be a broker or a dealer. Borrowing money to buy securities is prohibited in all the following except.
Is it a custodial account?
You can't use margin in your kid's custodial account. No, it's a margin account. You cannot use margin.
Okay, yeah.
You can't. Roth retirement accounts have to be cash accounts where you pay in full. So Roth, UTMAs, IRAs, all have to be paid.
Yep.
Right. Very testable. You
I was
can't.
between B and C.
Yeah, there you go. Very testable. You can't use a margin in a custodial account. Harry's Burger has announced a tender offer for 20 million shares of Jim's junk food corner store at 30. If Harry secures all the shares, they will then control Jim's. The shareholders of Jim's that submit their shares to the tender offer will realize which of these. Kind of a weird question.
This is weird. If Harry's?
Yeah, this is a tender offer.
Ugh. I'm gonna go with A. I don't know. This one's hard.
Yeah,
Weird.
1, 3, and 4. So you were right about 1 and 3. So I'm your broker. You own Jim's Junk Food Corner, and I call you and I say, "Hey, Allison, Harry's is offering to buy you out at $30."
Mm-hmm.
And you say, "Well, gee, what does that mean to me?" I say, "Well, what's your cost basis on your stock? If 30 is higher, then you're going to owe taxes. If not, you got a loss." It's 1 and 3. Now, what this is testing you on is whether it's a taxable event or not. And I don't think it'll be this complicated, but it's 1 and 3. What I would tell you though is that if this was the same question, and this is what it's getting at, if you receive cash, it's taxable. If this said Harry's Burger has announced a tender offer for 20 million shares of junk food quarter for 1.5 shares of Harry's. And so now I call you and I say, "Allison, Harry's is offering to give you 1.5 shares of their stock for each share you own of Jim's Junk Food." And you say, "Well, gee, Steen, what's the tax consequence of that?" I go, "There is no tax consequence for accepting stock instead of cash. If you accept the stock, there would be no effect. There's no investment income.
Mm.
So cash is taxable, stock is not." Right. In fact, when the Murdoch family was selling major parts of Fox to Disney, the Murdoch clan said, "We would like Disney stock, not cash." And the reason they don't want the cash is because that would be a huge taxable event to Murdochs. By accepting the Disney stock, they don't deal with the taxes until they sell the Disney stock, right? So if I'm making acquisition, for example, Twitter, I thought this was funny. X Holdings made a cash tender offer for Twitter at 54.20 cash. Allison, the company, the target company, has 10 days to respond. And I've never seen a response like this. The current management team at Twitter said, "You should accept the 54.20 cash because there's no way we're, as the current management team, getting you to 54.20 anytime soon. We're right at $30. If everything went according to plan here for the next 5 years, we'd be a $45 stock. Take the money." I've never seen
Mm.
a board embrace so quickly. Take the money. So, by the way, after everybody accepted the 54.20 so quickly, Elon had second. You thought, "Man, maybe I don't want to pay 54.20." In a 20% stock dividend, what happens to the number of shares and the share price? I like this. You should have a general understanding. We're not asking you to do any math. We're just asking what happens if you own Chipotle and you get a 20%
Yeah.
stock dividend.
Is the share price going up and the number of shares going down?
You got it. The share price goes down and the number of shares goes up. Right. That's the whole point of doing the split. I'm using Chipotle because I thought it was kind of interesting. It's the same as a stock split as a
Sure.
stock dividend. Chipotle was like 500 and something dollars a share, and they were going to start giving stock to the people that work at Chipotle, the employees. And they thought it would not be as enticing to them to get like 0.357 shares of Chipotle. So they did 100-for-1 split, just so now that their employees, when they get it, everybody has the same number of shares, by the way, or same proportion ownership. They're more shares at a lower price. But now they were saying when they give their employees a stock, instead of having 0.33 shares, they're going to have 33 shares. And they think that's a little more motivating to their employees, which I thought, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Anyways, but yeah, the share price goes down, which is the point of doing the split or the stock dividend, and the share number of shares goes up, right? Which is the point of that.
Okay.
MOS is trading at 55. A March 55 call contract would be trading.
The same, no, it's the same amount, so it's at the money or in the money. It's
Yeah,
at
perfect.
the money. Yeah.
Yeah, when the strike price, market
In the
price.
money would be what?
In the money would be if the market price was 60. If the market price was above 55, call up. The contract would be
Got it.
in the money, have intrinsic value. By the way, in the money, intrinsic value are synonymous terms, right? So if I said this was a stock is at 60, let me just put that there. Boom. The market price is up. Whoop. To say that that contract is in the money 5 points, or to say it has intrinsic value of 5 points is the same thing. Synonymous.
Okay.
There's no such thing as par as it relates to option contracts.
Is there a way to PDF this test for me so I can go through it?
I don't know if I have it still, but I'll check. I have
Yeah.
the FINRA somewhere, so no promises. But the one that's on the FINRA website, I think have it as a PDF somewhere. And if I do, I'll send it to you. If a prospectus is being used to close a mutual fund sale, it must be given to the investor.
Mm. It's 5 or 3 days. Oh, no, it's not. Is it, uh, is it before or during the sales
There you go.
presentation?
That's the best answer. Given that answer set right on.
Yeah.
It was obviously
I didn't read it properly. Yeah, that was my
yeah,
fault.
at or prior, right? At or prior.
Yeah.
The board of directors of ABC Growth Fund has declared a dollar dividend to holders as of record Wednesday, April 27th. What is the likely X date? So X date is the first date on which this mutual fund will be trading without that dividend. So that's what X means. X dividend is first date on which the stock, or in this case, the mutual fund, no longer trades with a dividend. Now, if this was a stock, the X dividend date would be the same as the record, and it would be Wednesday. But this is not a stock. This is not taking place in the secondary market, meaning the open-end fund knows exactly
Is it T+1?
it's going to be the day after the record, right? Because that's where they
Yeah.
know all their shareholders are. So this one, open-end mutual funds have a different X date than stocks that trade in the secondary market. And it's typically the day after because, again, all of the dates are set by the board of directors in an open-end mutual fund. Whereas in the secondary market, the X date is not set by the board of directors. It's a function of the Uniform Practice Code, which standardizes practices within the securities industry. Focus reports, U4 forms, in order tickets are examples. So this one I started to freak out and go, what the heck are they asking an SIE person about a damn focus report? Boy, they got me because my mind just went somewhere it doesn't need to go. Focus is how we report net capital. But then Dean calms down. I got off the ledge because then it says U4s, order tickets. And so we're getting tested here on knowing that the vast majority of brokerage firm records are
3 years, I guess. Okay, that's
very
this one.
few records are 6. Very few items of original entry are 6. 4 years are customer complaints. Whether it's 6, 4, or 3, all have to be readily accessible for 2 years. Right?
Okay.
Readily accessible means 24 hours. 24 hours. A broker-dealer may extend credit under Reg T for which of these transactions? Kind of a weird question, but I like it at the end of the day.
This one I don't know. Would they mean extend credit? Is that a margin account?
That's exactly what that is. So Reg T is a part of 34, and the Act of 34 says that the Federal Reserve Board is in charge of credit extension to customers. That's called Reg T. And the Federal Reserve Board says there are certain securities that broker dealers are not allowed to advance money on, can't lend against. Those are what we call ineligible securities, meaning you must pay in full. One of the ineligible securities under Reg T are called new issues. And it's called a new issue 30 days from the effective date. So you say, hey, Dean, I missed out on the IPO allocation. No problem. Just go ahead and buy that in the secondary market and, do it in my margin account. I say, well, how long did it go public? You say 25 days ago. I say, no can do. It's considered new issue 30 days from the effective date. So if this said 31 days, it would be okay for choice C. A mutual fund is continually offering new shares to the public. I just told you I can't extend credit on new issues. So C and D are both out because Reg D says we can't extend credit for new issues. You don't borrow to purchase a variable annuity.
Annuity, that's what I thought. A was out or
That's right.
automatically.
So A is out. So I can lend you money to buy the Mexico fund. MXF trades on the New York Stock Exchange. Bill Ackman, we were just talking about how that thing blew up on him. I shouldn't say blow up. I'm sure he would take exception with, withdrawing his registration statement. But here's my point. If that closed-end fund went public and then you wanted to buy it on margin, I'd say, Allison, it's a closed-end fund and can be purchased on margin, but right now it's still a new issue. And you would have to pay in full. You say, well, Dean, how long before I can buy that Pershing Square closed-end fund? On margin, I'd say.
Closed-end fund you can buy on a margin account. Okay, yeah, I was leaning towards B.
Yeah.
I read variable annuity. I knew that. Which of the following investments are governed under the rules set under the Investment Company Act of 1940?
Yeah. So one of these is a mutual fund, the other three are not.
Is convertible preferred stock a muni?
Nope. Those are not mutual funds, right? A
Those are not-
convertible
it's
stock is
common
not a mutual
stock.
fund. A municipal note isn't a mutual fund. A Ginnie Mae is
Face
not a
amount
mutual fund. A
certificate?
face amount certificate company, I don't think you'll see that on the test, is a type of mutual fund. And I don't think you're going to
Yeah,
actually see that on the test, but
I don't think so either.
Class C, you will get different tests on different share classes. We have A shares, B shares, and C shares.
Yeah. I know A and B. This is worded differently. Is it you pay after, basically?
Well, A share is good for somebody who has a large amount to invest and has a long-term time horizon because they may qualify for breakpoints. B shares have a contingent deferred sales charge. And that's good for somebody who has a large amount to invest in a long time horizon because if they stay in the fund long enough, they'll turn their B shares into A shares. But boy, if they don't stay in the fund long enough, they're going to get excess that load. And it could be the most expensive choice they make if they have to, get out before that time frame. C shares are good for somebody who doesn't have a long-term time horizon because if we're charging
no breakpoints,
it's for year after year after year, let's say it's like 0.75%, and I'm charging that every year to you in the 5th or 6th year, maybe you would have been better to pay the 4% load up front and be done with it than paying 0.75% forever.
Is it level load shares?
Yeah,
Is that what it's called?
kind of interesting language. Yeah, level load, meaning
It's
that
weird.
load never disappears, right? That's what that means.
But
As I mentioned, 0.75% is the most we can actually charge over the life of that.
Okay.
Money market instruments guaranteed by a bank that are used to provide capital for international trade are called, that is very much a test question.
It's not an ADR.
It's not an ADR.
Not a foreign bill.
It's not a foreign bill.
Is it a euro dollar? I don't know.
No, euro dollars
C or
are
D?
dollars that are in Europe.
It's C. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Should have went with
bankers
that.
acceptances. Bankers acceptance or issued a
Yeah.
discount, 270-day max maturity. It's a letter of credit from a bank. So I always joke, if I had to come out of retirement, what would I do? Maybe I decide to import Nicaraguan cigars. Nobody in Nicaragua wants, a check from me, and cash is not smart. I say, listen, here's a banker's acceptance on this date. JP Morgan will accept this for X number of US dollars. I say, you may want the money now, so why don't you go Managua, find a bank that has a correspondent relationship to JP Morgan, and what we'll do is sell that to some money market fund manager at a discount. We'll hold it to maturity. Long story short, it's used to facilitate foreign trade. What it eliminates is counterparty risk, right? Because, that cigar guy might worry about whether Dean is going to make good, but he doesn't worry about JP Morgan making good, right? On that,
Mhm.
which of the following are securities representing other securities on deposit with a trustee where the principal and interest payments have been separated? Wow.
What?
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but we kind of hinted at this earlier in our time together.
Well,
There are
receipts
two
and
types of
strips
zero coupon
have
bond.
no, yeah. Yeah, well, that's A.
Yeah, there's two types. There's ones you get directly from the U.S. Treasury that have been stripped,
Ugh,
and there's ones you
yeah.
get from broker dealers, right? They're the same thing. It's just one of them is coming from the Treasury, and one of them is coming from broker dealers. I think it's an odd question. Wouldn't worry
It's
about
a
it.
weird question.
Yeah, but it's a zero coupon bond is what it is. A bank employee has noticed that one of its customers, this is testable, has to deposit $9,000 in an account every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the past 4 weeks. Though the action could be legitimate, the customer might be trying to circumvent which of the following?
The bank.
Yeah, the Bank Secrecy Act, which gives your bank permission to file, in this case, perhaps a suspicious activity report.
A CTR,
Yeah,
exactly.
not a CTR. The CTR, that's why
Oh,
it's a suspicious activity report. CTR would be 10. And it looks like this person is intentionally avoiding the
oh.
10. This is called
So S,
structuring. And it's a red
got
flag.
it.
And so we would file a suspicious activity report. What is the name for the legal framework of state laws for broker dealers, registered reps, investment advisors, and investment advisor representatives? So
The
who is the
legal
ultimate?
framework.
Yeah, who is the ultimate regulatory authority for broker dealers, registered reps, investment advisor reps? Who is the ultimate regulatory authority for
I
those?
think it must be the S, it must be D.
Yeah,
The
that's right.
exchange of
It's the
1934.
SEC. Exactly right.
SEC is.
Oh
Oh,
no, even
yeah.
me. State laws. There's where we blew it. State laws. They got even your tutor. Stump the tutor, right? I didn't catch the state laws.
Oh my
State
God, I'm dead.
laws, man, they got us. They got us both. Uniform Securities Act is the state laws, and then 34 would have been for federal. So, man,
Federal. Okay, state. Got it. Got it. Got it.
RTFQ. Read the full question. Which of the following statements about warrants is false?
The warrant is long. That's weird. The warrant allows holders to. It's B or C.
You're correct. It's DRC.
Um,
But remember, if you take C, just a test-taking trick, you can't leave A and D in the same universe at the same time because they say opposite things. So if you take C, you're definitely going to be wrong because you can't have A and D in the same universe. I call this the principle of mutual exclusion. Socrates is a dog. Socrates is a philosopher. He's either a dog or a philosopher. It can't be both. So yeah, you're telling me you're between C and D, and I'm telling you that if you take C, you're telling me that both A and D are both true in this
Oh,
universe.
I'm between B and C.
There we go. B and C. All right. So
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go with B.
which is statements is false. Warrants are used in bond underwritings to make it easier to sell the bonds. So B is true. The warrants are long term. That too is true. What is false is the warrants do not allow you to buy the stock at less than the current market price. That would be rights.
Oh,
What
okay.
they're asking you
All
to do
right.
in this question is contrast rights with warrants. You need to know rights. D would be true of rights.
Oh my God, a
Rights are
warrant is,
short-term,
yes,
exercisable below. Warrants are long-term, exercisable above.
below. Yeah.
When the
Crap, I should have had
MSRB
that.
writes rules and regs regarding underwriting and trading for municipal and securities, it does not enforce those rules. Who does? So who enforces the MSRB rule G20, the max gift or gratuity rule being $100, or who enforces the MSRB rule
That's,
G30,
ooh, is
which
it,
says you can't give more than $250 to a campaign for somebody you can
it
vote for?
must be FINRA.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Self-regulatory agency, because I got that on the test and I think I got it
Yeah,
right. That's
SRO, yeah.
FINRA, right?
FINRA's an
Versus, yeah,
SRO.
okay.
So that's definitely right. In a limited partnership, which of the following best describes who is responsible for the tax consequences of the business?
Ooh,
Yeah, I think both of us may struggle on this one because we may overthink it.
um,
But in a limited partnership, remember the tax consequences flow through. The tax
so
consequences flow through to the investors, right? So I'm not
yeah, so it would
responsible for
be,
the tax. Yeah, I think it's the investors, right? The general partners
yeah,
manage the
maybe.
business. There's no retained earnings. So I
That
don't
might
know.
be it.
Yeah, boom. Yeah, we got it right. So
Okay.
yeah, the investors, right? You get your K1, you're responsible for your taxes. Big Co
Oh,
board declares a 75-cent dividend on Tuesday, June 15th. That's the declaration date. The dividend will be paid to shareholders as of record Monday, July 5th. The dividend will be sent, that's called the record date. The dividend will be
mm-hmm.
set to shareholders on Monday, July 26th. That is the payable date. What is the last date to purchase the stock and still get the dividend? So they're asking us the day before the X. The day before the X.
It's declaration, ex-dividend, record.
Yeah, so X date is the same as the record date. So here it'd be Monday, July 5th would be the X date. So that means we need to buy it on the day before the day. You can't buy it on Sunday, July 4th. You can't buy it on
It'd be the
Saturday, July
second,
3rd. I think you're going to have to buy it on Friday, July 2nd,
yeah.
the day before the X. An investor is short one December 15 put at 6. So you have an obligation to buy 100 shares at 15. For that, you got 6 points or $600. So this is a definable number. I say, Allison, the worst case is you're going to get exercised and have to pay $15 for that stock.
The maximum loss.
So what would be the worst price for the stock to be if somebody sticks it to you at 15? I say, Allison, you just got exercised. You pay 15 for the stock. You say, Dean, what is the stock trading at? I say, it's bankrupt. And you say, I paid $1,500 for worthless stock. I say, yep, that's your worst case
So
scenario.
bad.
But remember, Allison, you get to keep the $600. So you end up only losing 900.
Oh, 900.
By the way, the key point here is not so
Oh,
much can you come
six.
up with that number, is that it's definable, right? It's not unlimited. If this said short at December 15, call it 6, it'd be unlimited. So short calls have unlimited risk, short puts do not. That's the bigger deal, not can you actually come up with the number. Now, when you go on for your 7, you're going to have to come up with the number. For options investors, which of the following are true? I like this one. This is testing you on contract specifications.
Buyers pay the premium for the right to exercise. Buyers pay the premium. Did we just do this, I think? Buyers pay the premium. Ugh. If you have another, you might have another call, feel free, we can jump.
That's all right. Let's, I think we got 6. Let's go for it. Let's see if we can get it right to buy or sell. I actually like this. And what I'm doing is just annotating this, right?
Yeah,
So you should
Okay.
know the buyers pay the premium for the right to exercise to buy or call away the stock or sell or put the stock. That's Roman numeral 1. That's a long call, long put. That is true. Buyers have choices. Sellers have obligations. They're potential victims. So a seller has an obligation to buy or sell the underlying, right? An obligation to buy would be a short put. An obligation to sell would be a short call. So it is
Call.
actually 1 and 3. And I like this because what it's getting at is contract specifications. Contract specifications. You should know buyers have choices. I use the word choice instead of RIGHT. That's just me because, I don't like having RIGHT floating around with, WRITE. And then obligation, I always think
Yeah.
potential victim, right? Direct participation programs are set up.
I don't think they pass the taxes to the, I don't think they pass taxable income. I don't know, but
Yeah, but remember it says taxable income only. That's what makes that wrong, right? But direct participation programs pass through both passive activity losses as well as passive income.
okay.
True. Tax-free investments, and the owners of the business are liable for taxes. I think that's very similar to what we said. They're taxed directly. No, that's the whole point of a partnership is we don't want to be taxed directly, right? So given that answer set, it's testing on the flow through of the income and the expenses, right? That's why the IRS hates partnerships because again, if the money is flowing through and the tax consequences are only realized once. Which of the following are included in the semi-annual financial reports a mutual fund must provide to its shareholders? So some mutual funds do this quarterly, but the standard by regulatory standard is semi-annual.
It has to be one, right? Balance sheet showing assets.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's
The assets would
definitely
be the
C
securities
or
in the portfolio.
D. Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely right, right? That's the balance sheet shows us the securities that are owned by our mutual fund. So you're right,
But
definitely
it seems
one.
like personnel list detailing any changes, like wouldn't they have to do that too?
Well, no, because I mean, there's thousands of people there, right?
Yeah, that's
Franklin
true.
doesn't have to tell me that. What I want is the financials.
Yeah, you want 1 and 3.
Yeah, I want the financials.
Yeah.
An option contract having no intrinsic value at expiration, I like this, will likely so you have a choice to buy Apple at 220 and Apple at expiration is 217.
Is exercised by the holder?
No, you wouldn't want to exercise a 220 call with Apple at 217. I'd say, why do you want to do that,
You would
Allison?
lose money. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say,
yeah,
why don't you just let that expire? Right? There's no economic
okay,
sense. It doesn't make any economic sense unless it has intrinsic value.
value.
Which of the following companies was created by an act of Congress? This is very testable and provides limited financial coverage in the event that the broker-dealer fails financially. Man, if you miss this on the real test, you got to flunk the entire test.
This is one companies was created by,
Can you see my camera?
yeah, it's definitely A.
Right on, right on.
But FDIC is where it's the 250
Yeah,
with
so it
cash.
definitely
Is
does.
that
So
okay?
you know,
Yeah.
SIPC is 500,000, of which no more than 250 can be cash per separate customer. You should know FDIC is for banks, and that's 250 grand. I like this answer set, because all these answers could be right. OFAC is part of the Patriot Act, where we make sure we're not opening an account with some foreign national who has been, barred by the State Department, right? It's called OFAC. And then the Security Information Center is where we report lost and stolen securities. So the answer here is A.
Yeah.
Your client Mickey just purchased 10 euro-dollar put contracts. So he has a choice to put the euro-dollar at 110. She notices they're European style. This is testable to know the distinction between American style and European style. I told you most of the option questions are recognition like this. And so this is asking you about what does the European style mean? I'll just give you a hint. American style means you can exercise anytime. And so if it said American style,
Oh, okay. That's American style. Anytime you want.
yeah, that's very testable. That's for equity options. Or, non-equity options, foreign currencies, which this is, indexes, it's European style.
Is it? It's B or D, I guess.
Yeah, so one of the advantages to you as the writer is that you don't have to worry about somebody sticking it to you anytime, right? So if I'm short this put, I have an obligation to buy, and I don't have to worry about somebody sticking it to me until the very end. So the whole point of European style is you
Before.
exercise
D.
on the last trading day. That's a testable distinction between European style and American style. Your customer had a large cash position and was interested in purchasing stocks. Wow, this is a tough one. Below where they are today. An option strategy would be, this is a tough one.
My God. Please say buy stock order put on the market, buy out of the call. Large cash and ooh, I don't know. D? I have no idea.
Yeah, this one's really tough. I think this is tough for an SIE. I say, let's say Apple's at 217. And you say, hey, Dean, I'd like to put in a buy limit to buy Apple at 216. I said, well, let me get this right. You're trying to buy Apple less than 217. You go, yes. I say, one thing we might would consider doing is getting paid to do something we're already prepared to do. You told me, Allison, you're prepared to buy Apple. We can sell the 220 puts. We can oblige ourselves to buy Apple at 220 with the stock at 217, and you can get 6 points for that. Somebody will give you 6 points to agree to do something you told me you want to do, which is buy Apple. If we get exercised, Allison, we'd be paying 214 for the Apple because we're going to pay 220, but remember, we got 6 up front. So one reason you might want to write a put is to get paid to do something you're already prepared to do. Mr. Buffett loves writing puts on stocks he's willing to buy. And then when you stick it to him, he goes, well, thank you so much. I want to buy the stock anyways. That's called a put. Now, what does covered means? Covered means you have 220 grand in, or excuse me, $222,000 in your account. So Allison, you have cash equal to the aggregate exercise price, so that indeed when you get exercised, you can pay for the stock. Now, I think that is a huge high-end question for an SIE exam. My God, I don't even think most sevens would get that right. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
What is the answer on this one?
D.
Oh, it is D.
Right
I mean, I would have just got
Right
it.
upon
Yeah.
obligation to buy, right? So
Yeah,
rationale, boom.
this is hard.
Yeah. We want you to test as soon as possible. I helped you with a couple, but I think you're still doing pretty good. I will send the recording to you. This is a Zoom commercial account. If it's ready before I take driving Miss Daisy and her friends up to the Mesquite, I'll send it to you today. If not, I'll do it Sunday when I get back from Mesquite. But other than that,
Okay.
I will send you a copy. And then, like I say,
When will you be back?
I'll be back Sunday early afternoon. And I
Okay,
think by the
perfect.
time the ladies have their coffee downstairs and get ready to roll, I think this will be ready to be sent to you. And then remember,
No
the deal
worries.
is after you pass, with your permission, people always like to see.
No, let's take a
performance.
test or we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else for me today?
Nothing today. I'll put some time on the calendar for next week,
Okay,
if
sounds
not
good.
Sunday
Sounds good.
afternoon.
And as soon as
All
this,
right.
like I
Have
say,
fun.
I'm gonna try and get it this morning, but if not, it'll be early Sunday
No,
afternoon.
take your time. No worries. Have fun with
All
your
right.
mom and
All
I'll
right.
talk to you
Have a good
Sunday.
weekend.
Bye. Bye.